Good afternoon. Maybe you read the bio, or maybe you didn't. So just in any case, either case, I will read it for you again, if it's again. Wilson Gao is 16 years old and will be a junior at Parkway West High School in the fall of 2021, which is just coming up in a few weeks, actually. He has studied piano for 10 years and has studied with me since January of 2017. Wilson was the first place trophy winner for piano solo in both 4th grade and 9th grade at the MMTA State Piano Competition, as well as second place runner-up gold medal winner for 8th grade piano solo. He was also the 3rd place bronze medal winner in Division I of the prestigious SLAMTA Young Artist Piano Competition. Wilson has performed music of both Chopin and Liszt for the Polish-American Cultural Society Wigilia celebration and has played music of Bach, Beethoven, Chopin, Liszt, Prokofiev, and Ginastera in a solo recital for the College Club of St. Louis. Wilson has also performed in masterclass for Javor Bracic of New York and was invited to play the complete Beethoven Piano Concerto No.3 in C minor with the St. Charles Symphony on April 19, 2020, as a tribute to Beethoven celebrating his 250th birthday. However, this concert was canceled due to COVID-19. Wilson also plays violin and enjoys tennis, chess, tennis, and competitive math. And I want to let you know that he has also scored a perfect 36 in the ACT when he was in 8th grade. So and he will be off to college at the end of his junior year. We don't know where yet. He's in the process of thinking about that. So now, just a little bit about the first piece that Wilson will play. Wilson is going to play one of the D major sonatas by Domenico Scarlatti. It's L.461, and Domenico Scarlatti came from a musical family, as did Johann Sebastian Bach. His father, Alessandro Scarlatti, was also a composer, and he wrote music for choirs. And like in those days, in the late Renaissance, early Baroque, there were the choirs had 16 parts to them, like 16 voices. Now we are lucky if we have soprano, alto, tenor, bass, but they had 8 voices. It was not anything. The choirs were really important, and Alessandro Scarlatti was a composer for choirs, and his son Domenico Scarlatti was born the exact year as Bach and Handel. They were all 3 born in 1685, and Domenico passed in 1757. And he wrote hundreds, maybe 500, I don't know how many, hundreds of pieces he called sonatas. But there are not sonatas in the classical sense of a Beethoven sonata, which is composed of either 4 movements or 3 movements. They're short, much shorter pieces, and they have 2 parts, a part A and a part B. And they were written for harpsichord. So we play them on the piano, or if we're lucky, we play them on the harpsichord. But they have lots of finger work. His sonatas have lots of finger work and lots of, I can't think of any more words to describe them, but they're fast and they have a lot of finger work. So I'm going to after these comments, I'm going to sit down and let Wilson go to the piano and play for you one of the D major sonatas. You know, he wrote like 500, so he has many D major sonatas. One of the D major sonatas of Domenico Scarlatti. All right, we're on to Beethoven, and Beethoven was born in 1770, and he died, I think, in 1827. And Wilson is playing the first movement from the Sonata Opus 53, which is called the Waldstein. And why is it called the Waldstein? Everybody knows it as a Waldstein, because it was dedicated to Ferdinand von Waldstein. Beethoven writes at the top of the music, Dem Grafen Ferdinand von Waldstein gewidmet, meaning it was dedicated to Count Waldstein, who was a benefactor of Beethoven. So this piece is in C major, and I'm going to let Wilson perform for you the first movement of Sonata Opus 53, Waldstein Sonata by Beethoven. what a tribute Beethoven wrote to Count Waldstein. And just a little bit about Beethoven sonatas. There are 3 periods of the Beethoven sonatas: the early period, the middle period, and the late period. This sonata is in the middle period of Beethoven's output of sonatas. Now we move on to Chopin, and Chopin was born in 1810 and passed in 1849. And for pianists, he is like the poet of the piano. I mean, all pianists have to play Chopin at some point in their life. He is the most famous and most beautiful pianist, composer. Wilson will play for you one of 4 ballades. Chopin was influenced by Bach, so he liked to work in numbers like Bach did. Bach did 15 inventions, 2 and 3 part, 24 preludes and fugues, book 1, 24 preludes and fugues, book 2, 6 French suites, 6 English suites, 6 German suites. Well, Chopin did the same thing. He wrote 28 preludes. He wrote 2 sets of 12 etudes, which we'll talk about a little bit later, 4 ballades, and 4 scherzi. Wilson is going to play for you the second ballade of Chopin, which is dedicated to Robert Schumann, and I think rightly so, because I've always called this ballade the schizophrenic ballade of Chopin, because it has 2 moods, and I think you will hear them as Wilson plays. It has a peaceful mood, and it has the turbulent mood. And Robert Schumann had 2 sides, Eusebius and Florestan. And Eusebius was the peaceful side, Florestan was a troubled side. And Chopin rightly dedicated this ballade to his friend Robert Schumann. Okay, so now we're on to the etudes. And Chopin, as I said, wrote two books of etudes, book one and book two. And they each have 12 etudes. And Wilson is going to play for you two of the etudes from book two. But before I say a little bit about the etudes, I want to say, which personality do you think won out in this piece? Which personality, Eusebius or Florestan? I think Eusebius, because he ends with the peaceful one. So, at any rate, the first etude that that Wilson will play for you is a Etude Opus 25, number 1, known as the Harp. It sounds just like a harp, and Chopin did not give it this name, but we have given it this name. So it's the Harp Etude. Then the second etude he will play is the last etude in Opus 25, number 12, and that's what we call the Ocean Etude. And in the etude that we have called it the Ocean, not Chopin, you could see the waves. It's like almost a storm in the ocean. You could see the waves going up and down, and so it's quite exciting. So Wilson will play for you two etudes by Chopin, Opus 25, number 1, the Harp, Opus 25, number 12, the Ocean. Did that last etude not sound like an ocean that was turbulent? The waves were going up and down. And the first one, just like a harp. That's why people have called it that. Also, I wanted to say a little bit more about the Chopin etudes. Prior to Chopin, there was a lot of etudes. Etude is a French word for study, written for students. The Hanon exercises, all piano students have played at some point in their life. The Czerny studies, the Schmidt studies, Heller. Oh, I mean, there's tons of studies written by people. However, Chopin came along and elevated the etude to pieces of music. So that's what we have when we hear Chopin etudes. We don't hear studies, we actually hear pieces of music. Now, the next piece that Wilson will play for you is by Liszt. And a few weeks ago, some of my students were here and gave a tribute to Liszt. So this is a Hungarian Rhapsody was not on that program, but Wilson will play one for you. And a Hungarian Rhapsody is a piece that has different moods, and it usually starts out in a it's a where the composer is experimenting, I guess you could say. In this particular piece, it's like a dulcimer, and so Liszt begins the piece like a jazz player would play. I can't think of the word I want to use, but he's improvising. That's it, improvising on a dulcimer, and then he comes to another part of the piece, which is more song-like, and then finally he gets to the last part, which is really razzle-dazzle, and the Hungarian Rhapsody ends in a frenzy. So this is Hungarian Rhapsody number 11 by Franz Liszt, and he was born in, I have to quickly look here, 1811, and he died in 1886. And he was a composer who went from a playboy and turned into a monk, and was one of the rock stars along with the violinist Paganini all over Europe. They played all over Europe, and people threw roses to them and everything. So Wilson will play for you Hungarian Rhapsody number 11 by Franz Liszt. Wilson's final selection for you is a very famous toccata by Prokofiev. And so now it's toccata opus 11, and now we're entering into a more contemporary period, but not quite. Prokofiev was born 1891, and he died 1953. So it's somewhat contemporary, but we will conclude the program with this very famous toccata opus 11.
Isn't that amazing? And Wilson, we have a gift for you. This is a bag for this program and also some items from our company. Thank you. I think hope you'll find useful. Wow, what a treat for lunchtime. And we'll have we'll prepare some snacks and drinks. We can spend some time together and talk to teacher or talk to Wilson. And now we conclude our program today. Thank you. Thank you for coming and enjoy it.